Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to Korea once again, and we're going to have a look at a beer from another brewery that I've never tried anything from before. Now, these guys have actually been around a good couple of years, but I had never heard of them until I saw one of their cans. And I was in South Korea back in 2019, and at that point, the craft beer scene was quite interesting because you couldn't really find the bottles or the cans of Korean craft beer anywhere apart from at the breweries themselves. But that's changed a lot. They now have a properly established cold chain network from what I understand, and a number of the breweries have actually started exporting their beers to Japan, Hong Kong and other places in Asia, which is great to see. So that means we can review some more Korean stuff for you here, which I'm very excited about. But like I say, this brewery has been around for a couple of years. They've built up a very good reputation for themselves. The beer that we're going to have a look at today is one of their kind of flagship beers from what I understand, a style that is very popular at the moment, one that I do quite enjoy, and this is supposed to be a really nice example of it actually. So needless to say, I'm really curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us, and it's always nice to introduce new Korean breweries to you here on the channel as well. So hopefully this is another good one. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to an area of Seoul called Seongdong, although this brewery also have a location in Incheon these days as well, which is to the west of Seoul, and that means that we're going to have a look at my first beer from Amazing Brewing Company. So this particular beer is called First Love. It comes in at 6.5% ABV, and this one is a New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So this is another beer that I picked up in Singapore a couple of weeks back. This one was actually very kindly given to me by Raymond and the guys at iBrew, Singapore's premier and first and premier homebrew shop. So do make sure you go and check them out. I've got an out and about video that I filmed there as well. But yeah, they had a can of this one sitting there, and I was talking to them about Korean beer, so they said, oh, take this one and try it. So that is why this review is possible. I haven't seen this beer yet in Hong Kong. We'll need to just wait and see. But as I say, very cool to introduce new Korean breweries to you here on the channel, and we'll see what else we can find over the next little while. But yeah, let's crack on with this and see what it has in store for us. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Amazing Brewing Company. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Korean playlist along with a number of other things, and that is being added to whenever I get the opportunity. But do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very, very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Amazing Brewing Company for the very first time. So, Amazing Brewing Company, as I've mentioned to you already, are based, or were originally based, in the Seongdong area of central Seoul, just a little bit out to the east of the centre of the city, and the company was founded back in 2016, and the two main men behind it are Sang-jae Stephen Park and Taekyung TK Kim. I didn't know that some Koreans also adopted an English name as well, but I learned that when making the notes for this brewery. But Stephen apparently had a relationship with a girl, and she liked beer and wanted a particular beer that wasn't available in Korea, and so he decided to make it for her because he liked making things. But that relationship didn't last apparently all that long, but Stephen developed a passion for brewing that stuck with him a lot longer. So he was studying for his MBA at the Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, KAIST, in Daejeon, but he was also homebrewing and winning a number of competitions along the way. But in total, he won about 15 different competitions, and he sold these beers to a number of pubs across the city. They were kind of putting in custom orders with him and telling them what kind of beers that they wanted, and he would brew it and they would sell it in the pub. But along the way, he was contacted by TK, who came from a background in marketing and consultancy, but he was also a certified beer cicerone, and so he decided, I want to help you finance your own brewery and get it off the ground. And there we go. So the two guys chose Amazing as the name so that the brewery would have the initials ABC, and they actually started out their commercial brewing in TK's garage in the Seongsu area, but they later found an old factory and converted it into their new home, and they opened their first facility, I think it was in April of 2016, and they designed the setup and facility themselves and considered it to be a sort of quotes big homebrew setup, and apparently they could set up and break down the equipment in about 8 hours, and so they could move it very quickly, and they were very proud of this fact according to the article that I read. But they expanded very, very quickly due to their popularity, and also because this particular area of Seoul wasn't really known for craft beer. A lot of the craft beer stuff was based in like Itaewon and things like that. So yeah, these guys were in an area that really didn't have a lot, and so people were very curious about this. But their pub was very ambitious. They started off with 60 different taps, a number of their own beers as well as things from all across the world, and they also hired a chef from the Culinary Institute of America, the CIA. I always find that quite funny, but he came in to run the kitchen. So later on in 2019, they built a very shiny new brewery in the Gyeonggi area of Incheon, which, as I said, is out to the west of Seoul. That's where the main airport is. But they were soon faced with several issues having opened this brewery, and this included the Japan import frictions, because historically Japan and Korea don't get on very well, and the politicians still remember that these days. There was also the Korean volume tax, which affected beer producers quite a lot, and then there was all the restrictions that came in surrounding COVID-19. But they did manage to continue to grow, which is very impressive despite all of those things, and they are now one of the larger by volume craft beer producers in Korea. But in 2019, the year that they moved into the brewery, they also started the Amazing Beer Fest, and apparently 2,000 people visited this in the first year, and they served over 1,000 beers. I'm not sure if they've restarted that actually after COVID. I couldn't find any mention of that, so do let me know in the comments section below if you have any knowledge of that. But these days, they're still producing beer at the Seoul Brew Pub, and this brewery has a capacity of about 60 tonnes per year, which I think is about 600,000 litres, I'm not 100% sure, and they serve some very nice pizzas there from what I understand, so definitely need to go and check out this place. But the new brewery in Incheon is producing in the region of 1,200 tonnes of beer per year, which I guess is about 1.2 million litres, and this place has an on-site bar as well. But as of April 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 230 different beers according to Untappd, and they will no doubt continue to increase that number as time goes on. But they do have a number of sort of flagship beers, and also a number of like core range beers, and also they're still quite experimental. But they do a whole variety of different styles. There's sours in there, there's lagers, there's IPAs, there's sour beers, you name it, these guys have done it. They are pretty prolific. But yeah, that is everything I can tell you about Amazing Brewery Company for the moment. If you want to learn a little bit more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram as well to keep up to date with the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at the beer itself. So as is common in Korea, this one is a half-litre can. And you can see the artwork on this is pretty simple. It's just got a little love heart in the middle, but there you can see the Amazing Brewing Company symbol there on the side of the can. Plain silver top there. As I said, this one is a half-litre. I'm not sure exactly what this beer would cost in Korea or anything like that. Like I said, this one was a gift from Raymond and the guys at iBrew. Very grateful for that, but yeah, no idea what you would actually pay for this one, to be honest with you. So yeah, 6.5% New England Hazy IPA, this one. First Love from Amazing Brewing Company in Seoul and Incheon. Let's get this guy out into the glass and just see what it's all about. Oh, there we go. Nice little bit of pop there. So let's do this. Now, when it comes to IPAs in Korea, so far my experiences have been very positive. Meister Lee was one of the first ones that I discovered. They were doing some really, really nice hazies at the time. And yeah, more recently, Chill Hops have been doing a lot of stuff actually, which has been very, very good. So a new wave of breweries seems to be making their way out of Korea, which is great. But yeah, before the head on this one disappears, we got maybe about 80% of the beer out into the glass, but you could see that the beer poured with about a half finger of a kind of bumpy, soapy white head. That's just faded away to be pretty much nothing at the moment. You've just got a ring around the edge of the glass there and a few little wisps sitting on the surface of the beer there. But, you know, in terms of what you'd expect from a New England Hazy IPA, this one is pretty much that. So yeah, you can see lovely kind of bright yellow mango juice colour, this one. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use, that goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. But with IPAs, you don't often have to care about those latter two variables. The level of haze in this one for a 6.5% is about what you would expect. The haze in these beers, of course, depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. That can vary from brewery to brewery and beer to beer. But yeah, this one is, you know, pretty much what you would expect for a 6.5% single IPA. There's not much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. You know, one or two bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass there, and you can see a little steady stream of bubbles just going up toward the bottom of the head there. But you know, overall, it looks pretty nice, I have to say, and pretty much what you'd expect from the style. So I don't think there's anything unusual about that. You can see the level of opacity with this one if I stick my hand behind the glass there, but yeah, it looks good. Nothing unusual about that. So let's go on and have a wee look at the aroma of this one and see what we think. Oh yeah, it smells pretty nice. I didn't look too impressed on the camera there, I just saw that, but it does smell pretty nice, pretty much again what you'd expect from the style. For me, this one, it smells quite well balanced actually. As I've said before, when it comes to the New England IPAs, for me there are 6 elements to think about. So you've got the kind of yeasty farmhousey character and the rye leaning grainy side of things. Those are a bit more prominent in American brewed New England IPAs, but you've got wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the sweeter side of things. And those are a bit more common in those are a bit more common in foreign brewed New England IPAs, I would say. Just smelling this one smells like it's got quite a lot of barley malt in it, which obviously they all do, but this one smells as if it's quite barley malt leaning, but I'm getting a nice little bit of wheat out of it and also some of the oats. But I do wonder with this one, the wheaty character that comes out of this smells distinctly American, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're importing the wheat from the US in this one. There's just something quite distinctive about that. European wheat is a lot kind of more bitey and pungent, I would say. American wheat is a bit smoother, and there's just something about the aroma that makes me think American wheat. But yeah, this one is balanced. You get a nice little bit of oaty character in there, smooth wheat in this case, and quite a little bit of barley malt, I would say. The green component is quite bright, I would say, and you've got a nice mix of different fruity characters to it. It smells pretty damn good actually. The hoppy characters in this one are quite distinctive. But let's break the aroma down and just describe it that wee bit more in depth for you. So the backbone of the beer is absolutely that lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust. You can feel that being the backbone of the beer. You've got a little bit of crackery character to this one, a little bit of woodiness as well, but fluffy white bread for sure. A little bit of a sweeter kind of wholemeal brown bready character as well. So the brown bread, kind of fluffier white bread, and then you've got the nice oaty notes coming out of this one. Yeah, nice kind of fluffy oaty character coming out of the beer. Yeah, the oaty notes in this one are quite interesting. As I've said before, the oatiness in New England IPAs is usually a very good indicator of how fresh your beer is. Essentially, the creamier the oats are, the fresher the beer is. The drier they are, the older it is. This beer, I think, is maybe about, this one's a couple of months old, canned in late November 2023. So we're drinking this beer at a point where it's about 5 months old. So yeah, you can smell the oats are getting that little bit drier, but it should still be in fairly good condition. For me, with New England IPAs, you want to drink these within the first month or 6 weeks normally. That's when you get them in their prime, when they've mellowed out nicely. West Coast IPAs, yeah, about, between 1 month and 2 months old, I think is usually a very, very good time. But usually they're still good after that, but I think to get the absolute optimum out of them, you do want them that fresh. But still, With this one, the oats are holding up quite well. You're still getting quite a bit of the creaminess out of this one. There is a little bit of that Werther's original butter candy, butterscotchy sweetness that you sometimes get from these beers, but yeah, mainly it's a kind of oaty creaminess, and there's a little bit of biscuit coming out of this one too, like McVitie's digestive biscuits. I'm not sure how good a descriptor that is for Koreans watching this video, but yeah, I think just a little bit of biscuit in there. But yeah, I think we've covered the malt base in terms of aroma quite well. With that so far. Bread crust, little bit of wood, little bit of cracker, sweet brown bread, white bread. You can smell it. You do get a little bit of bitiness from the wheat in the top of the nose as well. Then you've got the oaty creaminess in there with a bit of dryness, little touch of butterscotch, wee bit of biscuit. I think that's it. Yeah, so the hoppy side of this beer then, there's something telling me that there's a little bit of mosaic in this. And that would be one of the fruity characters, but also there's a little touch of earthiness to the green component in there. So I do suspect there's a little bit of mosaic in this one. The hoppy notes in this beer are something very familiar. I would say maybe like mosaic and citra, or mosaic and simcoe, or something like that. It's two quite common hops, I think, in this one, which makes sense if this is their kind of flagship IPA. You're going to use hops that are produced at volume. So yeah, it's quite distinctive. But the green component of this beer has a little bit of earthiness to it. There's a wee bit of herbal character there as well. Some nice bright floral aromatic notes, and you've got some grassiness to it as well. So remember, with IPAs, there are three types of hoppings you can do when you're brewing them. You can do early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil. That gives you mainly bitterness and a deeper, danker flavour and aroma, piney resin and so on. Late addition hopping, which takes place within the last half hour of the wort boil, gives you a wee bit of bitterness, but also quite a lot of flavour and aroma. It's going to give you quite a bright green component as well. And then the dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, that's all flavour and aroma, and that's that's going to give you a very bright green component as well. So New England IPAs tend to rely on late addition and dry hopping. West Coast IPAs use all three, which is why they are more kind of deep, dank and bitter. So yeah, this one is quite obviously relying on late addition and dry hopping. You can tell that from the grassy zestiness and the floral characters. It's really obvious with this one. But yeah, I think that's the green component covered. But on the fruity side of things, this beer, as I say, is quite distinctive. I suspect mosaic and maybe a little bit of like simcoe or citra or something like that. Maybe Idaho 7 comes to mind as well, just because of the softness of the, even Eldorado. I think it's maybe two hops in this. I think it's mosaic and something else. But yeah, the hoppy sort of character that you get out of this, the fruitiness is very, very nice. So there's certainly a wee bit of a sharper peach to it, which makes me think, yeah, citra. A lot of kind of passion fruit as well, and juicy mango. And there's a bit of softer apricot and pineapple in there as well. And the complexity that you get from that makes me think maybe it is citra that's in here. The peach as well, that sharper peach, I think, is quite a distinctive note of citra, I would say. But then, yeah, you get a lot of kind of tangerine orange out of this one too. And the slight earthiness you get in the green component as well is usually a telltale sign of mosaic. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's it's a citra and mosaic thing, or maybe simcoe and... Nah, I'm more leaning towards citra and mosaic. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on in here. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Galaxy. Galaxy from Australia could be another option. But yeah, something tells me this is a citra mosaic IPA. There could well be a third tropical hop in there as well. But yeah, it seems very, very familiar, this one, in terms of its aroma. But yeah, all in all, it smells like a really nice New England IPA. Not doing anything surprising when it comes to the style, but it does smell really, really nice. So as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy that aroma before you get stuck into the beer. But I think it is about time that we try this one and see what it's all about. I think I'm going to have to... There's still a wee bit left in the bottom of the can there. But yeah, let's actually have a taste of this guy and see what it's all about. So yeah, this is the First Love, a 6.5% New England Hazy IPA from Amazing Brewing Company in Seoul and Incheon over in Korea. Definitely cool to introduce these guys. Slanja, Skål, Cheers, Ganbei. I believe that's what they say in Korea. Oh yeah, that's pretty solid. Yeah, it's kind of what you'd expect from the style. One thing I would say about this, the first impression I have of it, is that it's actually quite easy drinking, this one. And I mean, if you think about the temperatures you can get in you know, Asia is, for me, compared to Europe, very, very humid. You know, it can get very, very humid and very, very warm here. So if I compare this to what I would drink in Sweden, Scotland, or even the beers I've experienced over in the US and things like that, I do find that quite a number of them are just a bit lighter in their mouthfeel, and they quite often have a bit of crispness to them. I would say maybe this one had a wee bit more carbonation to it, just because of the length of time it's been in the can, so you do get a wee bit of crispness out of the carbonation here, but it's still, to me, this is not the creamiest of New England IPAs that you're going to have, but it has the sort of smoothness you'd expect. And the other impression that I'm getting from it is it's quite light and drinkable, but it has got a wee bit more of a wheaty bite to it as well. I was suspecting from the aroma that it was American wheat that was in this, but from the flavour I'm wondering maybe if it's more American oats that I've picked up, because the American oats have that kind of distinctive smoothness to them as well, but they're not quite as creamy as the European oats. So yeah, I think that with the level of wheaty bitiness in this beer, and it's also got a little bit higher IBU, this one I would say as well, compared to other New England IPAs. This one's certainly got a wee bit more kind of punch to it, which is quite interesting. So it's a wee bit different from a number of the IPAs we've had in recent times, but after 4,000 beer reviews, you want things that are going to make you think a little bit. Let's just get the last of the beer out and into the glass there. So yeah, now we've got our empty can. But yeah, it's good, it's solid, this one, and for a flagship IPA, it's going to do the trick. So yeah, this is solid. Well done to Amazing Brewing Company here. Let's break the flavour down then and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. Very easy to drink. But yeah, middle third of the palate then. With this beer, the backbone is like a lovely, fresh, white bready bread crust. You can feel that there's like a sort of hedgehog bread crusty character. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of woodiness in there. There's definitely a wee bit of woodiness. There's a wee bit of a crackery note coming out of this one too. So yeah, wee bit of woodiness, wee bit of cracker, and then yeah, you've got the bread crust kind of underneath it as well. But yeah, you do get a wee bit more dryness out of this one into the aftertaste, that's for sure. It's certainly interesting, this one, because it's not quite as thick in the kind of barley malt character as I expected it would be from the aroma. I was getting quite a lot of sweet bread out of it, but yeah, it's actually quite light in that middle part of your palate. So yeah, the I would say, yeah, above that kind of crackery layer, you do get that sort of white bread, and it feels again quite light and quite airy, but still it has a wee bit more density to it. Above that, you've got the wheat, and the wheat, as I say, has a little bit more kind of bite to it. In the case of this beer, so yeah, particularly more bitey at the back of that middle third of your palate, but as you move further forward, it's got a wee bit more kind of smoothness to it, I would say, as well. So yeah, that's really nice with this one, actually. Wee bit of smoothness, wee bit of bite. So yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. On the on top of the wheat, and the wheat does linger there into the aftertaste as well, you do start to get a wee bit of the oaty character out of this one. But yeah, the more and more that I drink of this beer, it becomes a little bit more kind of wheaty and bitey, that's for sure. But let's look at the oaty notes coming out of this one. Yeah, so the oaty character in here is the oaty character that's in here, I would say, is really nice as well. That oaty sweetness If you go down the middle line of your palate, you can feel there is a little bit of that creamy character there. But yeah, as you move out toward the edges of the palate, it's definitely got a wee bit more dryness to it. But in the dead centre of your tongue, you can feel there is a little touch of that Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sweetness, and just a little bit of biscuit, like McVitie's Digestive Biscuit, spreading out from that. So yeah, the malt base in that middle third of the palate, though, is quite kind of condensed and still crisp in a way. I wonder if there's a wee bit of Pilsner malt in this, actually, with the level of kind of bitiness from what I was suspecting was the wheat. And I really am wondering now, from some of the sweetness that you're getting in there, it feels like there could be a little bit of Pilsner malt in this beer as well. So I'd be very curious to see the brew sheet on this one and see exactly what they've done. But yeah, we've covered the middle third of the palate at this point. Let's go to the back third of the palate. As I often say, the back third of the palate will give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, but you know, just at different intensities. And generally speaking, sweeter flavours will come out further forward, and the you know, more dry and bitter flavours will come out further back. But yeah, between that middle and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of bready build up in there. The white bread's in the base, the sort of wheaty bitiness, and the Pilsner malt sits on top. But yeah, the backbone of the beer is quite in that one. You can feel the bread crust in there, but it just feels that little bit drier. You do get a bit of the cracker above that as well, which feels a little bit drier. The white bready character that's in there has a wee bit of a kind of graininess to it as well, and you can feel that layer's a little bit lighter and more airy. The wheat is above that, but the wheat really is very, very bitey in this case. And like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a wee bit of like Czech Pilsner malt or something in there as well that's given the beer that little bit of kind of just bitiness for sure. So pardon me, but above all of that, you get the yeasty character out of the beer. So let's look at that yeasty side of things. So yeah, the yeasty side of the beer for me, it has a little bit of a kind of sweet brown bready character in there. So yeah, sweet brown bready character. Around that you have the kind of soft white bready character as well, and then you've got a wee bit of the kind of soft bread crusty note around the edge, and the bread crust has a wee bit of dryness to it as well. But yeah, as I say, all that yeasty character sits on top of everything else in the it sits on top of everything else on that back third of the palate. So definitely, yeah, flavour profile, the back third of your palate, the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, I like the way everything sort of pieces together in this one. Yeah, but definitely, yeah, the middle third of your palate in this beer is really dense compared to some of the other IPAs that I've had in recent times. But let's move on to the hoppy side of things in this beer, the green component. Back corners of the palate, you do get a nice little bit of earthiness in there, and as you move further forward along the sides of your palate with this one, you do get quite a bit of spicy floral aromaticity. There is part of me that wants to say there could be a little bit of Columbus in this one. Either that, or there's a wee bit of because the floral character is quite distinctively spicy. Either that, or there's a wee bit of early edition hop going on. And I think this is a slightly more bitter New England hazy, I would say, compared to some other ones. So that's definitely fair to say. Could be a little bit down to the age of the beer, because you know the floral, I always find the floral notes get a little bit more pungent the older the beer is. And that's kind of brought out by what happens to the oats that I mentioned earlier too. So yeah, this beer does have a wee bit of lingering bitterness there, but round the front curve of your tongue, it's a bit lighter and grassy. There's a wee touch of zestiness there, and then you've got all the fruity notes. So let's look at that front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of the beer. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you can feel there's a little bit of kind of brown bread, well, no, a bit more sort of like a soft white bread in the base. You get a wee bit of that Pilsner malty, wheaty bitiness character on top. You've got the bread crust in the base, the cracker above that, and then you've got a mix of like white bread and things sitting above that. Then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So let's have a wee look at that. So yeah, the fruity side of the beer, with this one, the fruity side of the beer is as I say, kind of what you'd expect. I do wonder if there's a wee bit of Citra in this for sure, because it does at the back of that front third of your palate, there is quite a distinctive kind of stronger grapefruit in there. a wee bit, you know, now that I think about it, maybe a little bit of Chinook wouldn't surprise me with this beer either, because you do get a bit of an almost piney resin note to it, and the grapefruit is quite strong, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of Chinook in this. But yeah, so definitely a little bit of grapefruit. As you come further forward, there's a bit of a sharper peach, and then some passion fruit as well, but quite a lot of juicy and ripe mango. And as you reach the middle of that front third of your palate, it's as you reach the middle of that front third of your palate, it's a little bit more yeah, soft apricots in there, maybe a little touch of pineapple sitting on top. But as you move into the front half of that front third of your tongue, it becomes a lot more about like the kind of citrusy, zesty tangerines and stuff. And I do suspect Mosaic in this one. I still suspect Mosaic. So I think Citron Mosaic and potentially a little bit of Chinook in this beer. But yeah, it could be Galaxy, Citron, Mosaic. That would be another possibility, and that would also explain the kind of pungent grapefruit too. I always used to like playing guess the hops with beers, but it's a lot harder now because there are so many hops. But yeah, this one, grapefruity, citrusy, zesty character, quite a little bit of tropical note, and then yeah, kind of more orangey note. And just behind the front tip of the tongue, you certainly do get a wee bit of a lemon limey character as well. But all in all, quite a nice beer, this one. Certainly more wheaty and bitey and a bit more bitter in comparison with some other New England IPAs that I've had before. But let's round off this review with a wee look at the mouthfeel then. I'm very curious to kind of put that into words. Yeah, so I'm gonna say for me, this beer is quite, yeah, I would say that it's quite, it's kind of in the middle of the spectrum. Carbonation does have a wee bit of crispness to it in this one. Again, I wonder how much that is down to the can's age and so on. So yeah, that's worth mentioning. So yeah, it has a good little bit of crisp carbonation to it. It does feel like quite light and drinkable at the same time, to be honest with you. But compared to other New England IPAs I've had, I feel this beer has a little bit more dryness to it, a bit more crispness, and also just that wee bit more bitterness as well, actually. So yeah, the way everything kind of pieces together in this one is quite interesting. But yeah, mid-bodied, right in the middle of the spectrum. The IBU in this beer must be about 50, maybe 60 actually, and there is quite a bit of dryness. Like I said, the malt base is a bit dry underneath, smooth in the middle, slightly creamy on top, but as I say, a bit more Pilsen malty dryness and wheaty bite. And then you've got all the kind of fruity characteristics coming out of this one as well. So yeah, all in all, a really interesting New England IPA. This one quite different from other takes on the style, but I've certainly enjoyed this, and it's a very nice introduction to Amazing Brewing Company as well. So I think we can leave it at that for this one. This was the First Love, a 6.5% New England IPA from Amazing Brewing Company in Songdong in Seoul, and I think it's Songsu area in Incheon as well. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Amazing Brewing Company as well, and hopefully we can return to these guys again sooner rather than later. And we'll see about getting over to Korea and filming some out and about videos, because we do need to do more of that. But yeah, thank you for watching the video. Check out my social media, check out their social media, and I will see you guys again in another one. A lovely kind of more bitter, more crisp and dry New England IPA. Sláinte, skål, cheers, and Gambe.